What's up, everybody? Brady FER coming at you with an album review for the new Make Them Suffer album, also their self-titled album that was released this past Friday, November 8th. This is a band that, despite having changed their style quite a bit throughout their discography, is just a band that I haven't really enjoyed a full album from yet, despite their change in styles throughout the years, whether it's the black and death metal days, if you want to call it that, of their early work, all the way through symphonic territory to this more traditional straight up metalcore, slightly more mainstream sound of this album and their last album. So after that album, which was 2020's How to Survive a Funeral, wasn't really sure what to expect going into this. They have been releasing quite a few singles this year so far, and they sounded a bit generic, nothing too interesting, but I gave this album a good chance. I have gone into it with decently, I don't want to say high hopes, but with an open mind, ready to be surprised and have some songs on here that I genuinely do enjoy. And there are songs on here that I do enjoy. But I will say that listening to this album just from the get-go, just in the first few tracks right away from listening to it, it immediately started to underwhelm me. There's, of course, the instrumental intro track, The Warning, which serves to set the mood, although it really has no interesting musical ideas whatsoever. And the track Weaponized has this just really generic metalcore riff that drives pretty much the entire song, and there's this super weak, almost pop influenced chorus that I don't like. Like, just listen to that chorus melody. What? How does that doesn't fit the mood of the song or the album at all? It feels so fucking out of place. And even the riffing on this song and the majority of the album, I find the riffing to be just really generic and just void of nuance, and also quite recycled and copy pasted from not only some of this band's past material but their peers as well. It also goes for the choruses. Several of the choruses on this album feel like they're just straight out of the Bring Me the Horizon playbook. Like, the chorus in No Hard Feelings just sounds almost exactly the same in rhythm and cadence to Bring Me the Horizon's Shadow Moses. The main riff in the track Doomswitch somewhat predictably blatantly rips off Architects. And Oscillator and Man of God and Epitaph, the riffing on these songs don't have a single ounce of memorability or originality whatsoever. These songs aren't necessarily bad. Like, there's moments spread throughout this first half of the record that I think are somewhat interesting. I do think Man of God overall has a good energy to it. It's very energetic. It's one of the more dynamic cuts on here, especially in this first half. Doomswitch does get a bit more djenty and a bit more rhythmically complex at times, which I can appreciate, especially in that breakdown that kind of splits things up between the measures, as in it starts on the 4 and ends on the 2 with those bass drums. Musicians will know what I'm talking about. And No Hard Feelings has kind of a cool break before that final chorus kicks in, which I thought was pretty interesting, actually. But the first half of this album really is not it. Much like the riffing and the music as a whole on here is a bit generic, I'm going to say the same thing about the lyrics. Like, the song Epitaph lyrically centers around the same theme the entire song of, like, no one can save us, which is just so fucking played out. And I also find clean vocalist Alex Reed to be a bit just unassuming as a vocalist. She doesn't sound bad. It's just a lot of times these clean vocal moments kick in, and it ends up really just flatlining instead of feeling like this big triumphant moment. Like, a clean chorus, especially a clean chorus with female vocals, really should have that impact. So good examples of this, again, Weaponized with that really poppy vocal cadence, No Hard Feelings again, and although it is a bit catchier, I would say, I would also clump the clean chorus and Epitaph in there. And maybe my least favorite song on here, which is actually later in the record, Tether. That has maybe the weakest chorus on the whole album. In metalcore like this, it really is crucial that these clean choruses, which oftentimes can disrupt the flow of the song and kind of kill the momentum that some of the heavier parts establish, it's crucial that they feel full and lively and epic and climactic. These choruses just don't. In Alex's defense, though, I don't really think all of it is her fault. I think a lot of it has to do with the production that does sound very digital and really synthesized, which in metal music does oftentimes kind of eliminate the dynamics and the climacticness of, if that's a word, of the music. The guitars also have a really annoying habit of, whenever a clean chorus hits, they just instantly default to bare bones, boring power chord progression, which is just something that reeks of butt rock octane core. So I think there's multiple factors playing into the fact that these choruses just sound so weak and lack the climax that they need. Another thing that really drives me nuts about this album is, again, in contrast to a lot of their past work, is that these symphonic and at times industrial elements just feel like non-essential add-ons to the song that kind of serve as space fillers to spice things up over like parts that would be kind of boring sounding without them. And again, this is in stark contrast to actual symphonic metal like these guys used to play, and songs that have actual foundations built upon these aspects rather than just throwing them on top to, again, spice things up. I hate feeling that as a listener. And like, from a musician standpoint, I kind of get it, because sometimes even I'm guilty of it. If I'm recording a song and I think that a part sounds a little naked or like it's missing something, it's real easy to just go into Pro Tools and look through all your plugins and stuff and your synthesizers that you can add on, but it becomes a really slippery slope. And a lot of times when they're isolated, or if they're over just dull instrumental sections, it becomes really obvious that is what happened. Those embellishments on this album, which to me is exactly what they are, embellishments, really just feel unnecessary. And they serve almost to kind of distract the listener from, again, some of the dull instrumental sections underneath them or around them. But like I said earlier, this album is not all negatives. There are actually 3 tracks near the end of the record that I found myself really enjoying, one of them being Venusian Blues. This song really feels like it breaks free from that tireless metalcore formula that they have displayed on pretty much the full album up until this point, with its, again, really just catchy riffing in the verses, some really catchy vocal cadences, a greater emphasis on mood and aural space and atmosphere. My favorite part of this song might be vocalist Sean Harmonis actually doing some clean vocals on here in sections that sound very much inspired by Deftones. And when I say that, I don't mean, like I said earlier, about them ripping off Bring Me the Horizon and Architects, where it just feels like similar cadences and riffs. This feels like it takes actual inspiration from it, instead of just taking a part from a Deftones song and pasting it in. About 2/3 of the way through, you get these harmonics that add this extra layer of kind of mood that I really enjoy. This song as a whole is one of the most moody and emotional songs on here that actually shows prominent emotion. The track Ghost of Me might be the most deathcore oriented song on here, with its more guttural style growls in the verses, and the clean chorus of this song actually does feel really climactic and full sound, although it definitely does have that Bring Me the Horizon flavor once again. There's another cool come down before the final chorus, and this song just, the joy of this song is in its dynamics once again. And the closing track on here, Small Town Syndrome, probably has the catchiest riffing on the whole album. I especially love that breakdown that kicks in about 2 minutes and 13 seconds in. Just really groovy and bendy, and it actually really gets you engaged, and it really gets in your head. This is an actual hook, which this album has kind of lacked so far. So, I mean, if you're a fan of this band and you're a fan of modern metalcore as a whole, I could definitely see you enjoying this album. And I do genuinely enjoy these 3 tracks that I just gave some praise for, but unfortunately for me, the majority of the album just feels really generic, really run-of-the-mill, and really underwhelming. Not bad, like there's very little on this album that I would say was painful for me to listen to, but it just, again, very underwhelming. For that reason, I'm going to score this album a 12 out of 30. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on this album below. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more rock and metal related content and album reviews. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, peace.